Hello, today I would like to tell you the idea and key to expansion to travel in a shorter amount of time.
So how is it possible to travel across the country in a shorter amount of time?
You see, it's called the Transcontinental Railroad. It will stretch from the East Coast to San Francisco. It will get you places from months to days. It's one of the greatest improvements of our time.
Sell me on this. It seems very costly and risky.
I know it's expensive and we will need government subsidies and loans, but it's worth it. The risk I'm taking is putting a railroad through thinly populated cities. But this railroad will create a boom in migrating populations and will create profitable cities.
So how would you plan on manufacturing such a large product?
Cornelius Vanderbilt. He has created a tougher steel that will line our railroad tracks. Also, we will find even more partners to do business with. And we will use a gouge track so that there is easier ways to build it.
As great of an idea this is, I don't think it is realistic, so I'm out.
Well, I'm in, and I'm going to do $50 million for a 30% share. I think it's a great idea, and I think that it'll open up a lot of trade with Asia, and I think that it opens the doors for other mechanizing companies in America.
Investors, today I would like to introduce myself as Alexander Graham Bell. I would be honored to show you the telephone. There's nothing else of its kind.
What's the story behind your invention, Alexander?
I was a teacher. I taught the deaf and decided that if I could make the deaf talk, I could make a piece of iron speak.
Besides communication, what other things can this invention be used for? I can't give a commitment to something that can only be used for one thing.
Yes, you see, it can provide jobs for many people. It would be great specifically for women, for I can see them working at switchboards. In addition, boys would be working at operators. My invention of the telephone will increase employment rates and sales would be through the roof.
I can definitely see a lot of companies and corporations buying these for marketing.
Exactly. Families can communicate faster across the country. Companies can expand and communicate faster also. Making this deal will expand the growth of this country.
Well, it's a pretty cool idea, but I just don't think I can invest my money in this right now. I'm out.
I think it's too risky, and I don't think you're going to be able to pull it off. I'm out.
I'm in. I can really see your product taking off and homes across America wanting your telephone. This product could start something great, a movement. I can soon see myself becoming a telephoniac.
There has been a rush of immigrants into America. 5 million came into our country by 1880, and the numbers just keep going up. These are not the typical immigrants that we've seen in the past. Not the fair-skinned, English-speaking immigrants from the British Isles and Western Europe that fit relatively well into our society. These are new immigrants, and they have apparently caught American fever from the American letters being sent to friends and family overseas that paint our country as a land of fabulous opportunity. Although we should take this as an honor to be perceived in such high regards, some of you have voiced your complaints about the increase in immigration by these new types of people. We have exclusive information on this newscast tonight on why this increase may be so bad. And is America to blame? We have Sam reporting on the East Coast.
Yes, thank you, Erica. I'm just here awaiting a ship of these so-called new immigrants. For those of you who don't know, the demographic of these people is mostly from Southern and Eastern Europe, including Italians, Slovaks, Poles, Greeks, and Croats. Unlike past immigrants, these people typically don't speak any English, are largely illiterate, impoverished, and worship in Orthodox churches. They're typically seeking industrial jobs, which is what is upsetting the public so much, Erica.
Yes. The profit-seeking Americans trumpet through Europe the attractions of our country, mostly because they know these new immigrants are cheap labor. Of course, this is detrimental to those of us who couldn't think of working for these starvation wages. I know in the past the labor leaders spoke out, making some valid points. One said that if American industry was protected from foreign industry, then why shouldn't American laborers be protected from foreign laborers? These points are seeming to get into Congress in small increments. If you remember back in 1882, they stopped letting paupers, criminals, and convicts in. And in 1885, they prohibited the importation of foreign workers under contract. Even after all of that, now as we're in the first decade of the 19th century, these new immigrants still constitute 66% of the total immigrant inflow.
Wow, that really is a lot. I heard they're all heading straight for the city, too. I was talking to my old friend Jane Addams the other day, who's actually quite famous now, because back in 1889, she bought a huge mansion in Chicago. and it's now America's most prominent settlement house. It's known by many as the Hull House. As I was mentioning earlier, the immigrants don't really fit well into our society, but the Hull House offers counseling, instruction in English, childcare, and cultural activities. Jane Addams is really helping all the immigrants assimilate into our society with her settlement house. Well, as you can see, the ship is about to dock and all these immigrants are about to come rushing in. So, I'm gonna go, but I'll tell you more about this later.
Thank you for all that info, Sam. See you when you get back to the studio. In other news, America has a lust for learning. Public education is gaining more and more popularity, as more states are making at least grade school education compulsory. There's also been an increase in high schools and free textbooks. In addition, we've been seeing expansions in teacher training schools. With all this improvement in education, why were there still 44% of non-whites illiterate in 1900? We had our anchor Shelby do a report.
Thank you, Erica. Yes, still even after freedom, African Americans are fighting for equality. A prominent figure, Booker T. Washington, has been educating African Americans useful trades. He has been focusing less on social equality and more on economic equality, believing that will lead to social and political rights. Another leader in the fight for rights is W.E.B. Du Bois. He is different from Washington in that he demands complete equality for blacks, social as well as economic. He is in the process of starting the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, rejecting gradualism because he wants equality now.
Very interesting. Be sure to keep us all updated on their fights. That's all for this afternoon, everyone. Be sure to tune in every day at noon for your Channel 12 news.
Hi, I'm Jay Gold, owner of the Wabash Railroad. The year is 1885. I'm known for my many attempts to corner the gold market and have been involved in various scandals with Big Boss Tweed and my good friend James Fisk. Today I'll be going undercover to see how my workers are performing and to make sure we're making as much money as we possibly can. I want to make sure my workers aren't trying to organize any strikes or labor unions. I'm going undercover as James Alexander and pretending that I'm a new worker at the company.
I'm so wiped. He has us working so hard, and I'm just so exhausted.
Like, we don't get a break. It's not.
Hey guys, I'm James. I'm new here.
Hey.
Hi.
So how do you guys like it here?
We hate it. That gold guy is a jerk.
Yeah, we work 10-hour days and get paid only 17 cents an hour. We're sick of it.
Haven't you heard of the Knights of Labor?
Oh yeah, aren't they that union that stemmed from the National Labor Union and they campaign for like economic and social reforms and like producers, cooperatives, and codes for safety and health? I've heard of them. They're led by someone named Powderly.
I'm Terrence Powderly. I'm leading a secret strike against Wabash. We're organizing next week our first meeting. The Knights don't allow lawyers, but I am one. That's really an asset to an organization.
Wait, you're leading a strike against Wabash, but why?
Our working conditions are awful, and so is our pay. We have families to support here.
We've just joined the Knights of Labor, actually. We were sworn in during secret ceremonies where we pledged our loyalty and vowed to fight for free labor.
I've also heard talk about the American Federation of Labor.
Yeah, hi, I'm Samuel Gompers. The AFL is my federation. We're engineering sweeping social reforms. I'm seeking better wages, hours, and working conditions.
Tell me you're not into that closed shop and all union labor nonsense.
Actually, that's my main goal. We only allow skilled workers.
We're more open to everyone. We allow men, women, whites, blacks. Our commitment to uniting workers all in one union, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, or skill level, provides for our success.
You allow blacks and women? I can't believe that, but not gamblers or liquor dealers, right?
Of course not. We just want one big union where everyone is fighting to have a better working world.
Well, what are you planning to do?
We're going to engage in militant, direct action, such as the occupation of roundhouses and yards, the physical intimidation of strikebreakers, the assumption of control over locomotive engines, and the disablement, the removal, or destruction of equipment.
That's awful. Do you know how much money and damages that's going to cost?
Yeah, we want to rob that gold man of every cent he has. He's terrible.
Well, today I found out about 2 labor unions that have been formed right under my nose. I can't believe this has been going on. I had no idea that this many people were unhappy with their jobs. Did you hear about Big Boss Tweed?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Okay, anyways, guess what I just heard?
What?
3 huge scandals are in the process of being uncovered as we speak.
No way.
Yeah, meet me at the cafe and I'll tell you all about it.
You're never going to believe what's going on.
Why? What's happening?
The New York Times posts some damning evidence about Big Boss Tweed, and there is some cartoons by this guy named Thomas Nass that are just destroying his reputation. He hasn't mentioned it to me, though.
Oh no, I'm so sorry. What does the article say?
The article says something about him running the Tammany Hall political machine. He stole more than $200 million and has been paying people to stay silent. And I guess he's also been punishing those who oppose by raising their taxes. I can't believe he'd do this.
Is that it?
Nope, that's not all. He's been assisting immigrants and getting them jobs and homes, but in exchange for their votes.
Wow, that is like pretty bad.
I know.
Tell me what's going on. Okay, so I just heard about this, but President Grant is pretty much oblivious to everything that was going on. But two men, Oakes Ames and Thomas C. Durant, formed this thing called the Credit Mobilier. They're both insiders of the Transcontinental Union Pacific Railway. Pretty much they hired themselves to build the railroad and paid themselves more than the jobs costed. They stole millions.
Wow, that's unheard of.
I know, and then someone else told me about this whiskey ring. I guess Grant's private secretary was being paid off by some people who didn't want to pay excise taxes on whiskey. The scandal robbed the treasury of millions.
Wow, that's absolutely crazy. I guess we know why everyone calls this the era of good stealing. Hey, isn't that Boss Tweed's wife over there?
Yeah, her name's Mary. I met her at an event once. We should go say hello.
Mary, how are you? We met at an event a couple weeks ago.
Of course, darling. How are you?
Good. So I was just talking to my friend over here about the schemes that have been discovered under Grant. I'm so sorry to hear about your husband.
Yes, it's all right, but thank you.
Well, I was just about to tell her about the last scandal I heard about.
Ooh, we would love to know too.
Well, James Fisk and Jay Gold attempted to corner the gold market. They're friends of a couple of my girlfriends. They enlisted the help of Grant's brother-in-law. The scheme failed when Grant realized that his brother-in-law's advice was harming the public, but Fisk and Gold didn't lose anything, and they refused to pay their obligations.
Wow.
Unbelievable. How selfish.
Yeah, and how about Andrew Carnegie and Rockefeller putting all the little guys out of business with their horizontal and vertical integration? It's almost impossible to compete with trusts like that. They pretty much have a monopoly on the market. The government's trying to combat it with the Sherman Antitrust Act, but the big businesses are twisting it around and using it to fight off the labor unions.
I can't believe what business has come to. Well, ladies, it's been lovely, but Big Boss Tweed needs me, so I gotta run.
As do I. So long, girls.
Goodbye.